Live. We're back. Hopefully, everybody had a great week. Today, we're discussing episodes 3 of both She-Hulk and Sandman. But before we get into that, I want to catch up with Grace real quick. Grace, what's up? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing pretty good. I watched all of this on Wednesday. I watched the episode of Sandman, and then last night I watched She-Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
So everything's like pretty fresh. Week's been good. It's been hot,
Oh,
to
no, no
stay hot,
doubt. Like,
dude.
I'm
I'm
telling you, it
dying.
may just come to the point to where even in here, you may hear a fan just turn on just because the weather is just ridiculous right now.
It's brutal right now, guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're melting
Yeah.
insanity. So, yeah, all in all, been a very quick week. It's one of like those weeks where every day feels like Friday. So
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like every day feels like the best day ever because we love Fridays,
Is that so? I mean, that's good that
don't
you're
we?
you're experiencing. If every day feels like Friday for you, great. But like, say come like Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm just like it feels like a
A
Tuesday
Tuesday.
for sure.
No, I don't get this all the time, but like it's been like a nice week like that. So I've been enjoying it. I'm not mad about it.
Okay, cool.
What about you? I know you went to like the beach or something, right?
First off, we're keeping that on the low, okay?
Oh, do you not want
even
people
though
to know you
even though
beach?
like say if it came down to it, yes, I went to the beach and it just a funny story just because initially my girl and I we share a client and she told a client that she caught a flat, you know what I'm saying? When we really were at the beach. So luckily the client doesn't watch any of these, so we're good to go. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I meant, like on
Say
the
less.
low. But aside from that, the week for me, honestly, is just it's gone by super fast. And today was a day to where I don't want to say I got picked on, but I took a lot earlier this morning, and by a lot I mean, Grace, that it's like I box, right? So I go to the gym, I get in the ring. My coach was just like, all right, Derek, put on your headgear. You're in there, and then everybody take turns on boxing Derek. So it's just like I'm boxing. Not everybody at once, but it was just like, all right, you around. Next, you out. Now you in. It was just like back to back, nonstop. I may be a fighter like in the next couple months, like officially the way they're they're treating me.
The way they're treating you? Oh my God. Okay, see, that reminds me of like Into the Spideyverse when they're trying to test out Miles Morales if to see if he has what it takes, and they're all punching him like, and above all, like Spider-Man needs to get back up no matter how many times. You know what scene I'm like talking about? Like that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Like each of them just like taking turns like beating on you.
Mm-hmm.
But man,
And it's
see,
why,
I do
like, say, like,
jujitsu. Yeah.
say I went against 3 people total, right? And then
Mhm.
the first two, no, 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 not even the first two. The second two, they were the more chill. It's like they in terms of the tempo, they kept it light, which I needed. It's 6 a.m. and I'm not really trying to go crazy, but the very first person that I went up against, she was already at 100 when it started. And I was like, can I wake up, please? Like, chill
Lord, that's
out,
when I try to play like Metallica for like my first session at 7 a.m. and they're like, Grace, this is
Right.
not. We need some like slow jazz on this
Mm-hmm.
warm up. Yeah, dude, that's insane. See, like I'm a jujitsu practitioner. I actually have taken like a hiatus because it's been impossible to make it to class
Mm-hmm.
recently just because it's been so busy. Um, but like I have a blue belt and everything, and when we do competition season, like we have like a whole month where we're in like competition training. So each class is 2 hours long
Yeah.
and it is like brutal. They basically put you through like a conditioning workout right at the start to like tire you out as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then like at some points we just finish with like rounds of keeping like there's this thing called King of the Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like you line up in ranking order and then the top five will like go as like the kings of the hill.
Mm-hmm.
The next five line up and match with them,
Mm-hmm.
and whoever like submits or whatever the objective is for that day, the other person stays on the mat, the other one cycles through, and it's like insane. And we usually go with like guys and girls will like all do the same thing with a hill based on weight. So it gets crazy. Like, I
Yeah.
love that the guys don't necessarily take it easy on you, but they do gauge. Like, they gauge enough for you to feel like they're actually putting up a challenge. But it's like none of them are trying to do like an ego boost, but I understand.
Right.
It's like
Right.
whenever competition season goes around, I'm bruised up. I'm like have cuts everywhere. It's insane.
Yeah. Like I like what I took from today honestly was the fact that with all the conditioning that I've done, I was able to do better than like I compared myself to when I did their fight club earlier this year. That was like March or whatnot. And say in fight club everybody does 2 rounds a piece, right? So say my legs honestly gave out after the first round. Like, and it was more so just like the cardio and aspect of it, and I wasn't well conditioned. And honestly, me signing up, that was my very first time sparring ever. Like, I didn't do any like sparring practice or anything. It's just I just went in there, see how I did, and then after round 1, I was already super gassed. But in comparison today, after 3 rounds, it was just like, yeah, I'm tired, but I can keep going. You know what I'm saying? So I could just tell all the conditioning that I've done, let's say within the last month or two, it's actually paying off. So I'm doing all right.
It's such a like I could totally understand what you're saying. It's an awesome thing. Like I don't know if you like those of you watching, like those who are in any type of like martial art, like fighting, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like you guys get kind of what we're talking about, like that amazing feeling where you're like, oh my god, I know things. You're like I've learned things, you know. And like jujitsu particularly, it's basically the best description is you are trying to figure out like a Rubik's cube while the Rubik's cube is also trying to fight back. It's
Exactly.
ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's the same for you guys with like boxing, but like I think one of the things that I love the most about it is like the brotherhood is so strong. Like you literally bleed, sweat, cry together, and it's like the unity is amazing. Like, do you guys have that same kind of vibe?
I would say for the most part, like say they're first off, just going into a gym that's more so specific to like let's say a single sport. Everybody's kind of in that brotherhood because everybody's kind of working towards the same thing, as opposed to uh, the gym that I used to work at where you work now. It's like everybody's kind of doing their own thing, either working with a trainer, you know, just like basic gym stuff. You know, I was like, oh, I'm just on the treadmill or in the weights. To where here everybody's just trying to get better at boxing. You know, so that is like the brotherhood. I feel like it comes with that. In terms of the community of the gym, but of course there are those people that do, that stands out to where it's just like, oh, you're feeling yourself too much. I really want to like put your gloves on. Let's do this. You know.
No, I love it. It's the thing I miss the most, honestly, about being on the mat.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really wish I could get back sooner, but yeah, like for those of you guys who haven't tried it, it's like a beautiful experience. Honestly, it's like a very unique thing. And I think like aside from, I mean, this is how I feel, but obviously I'm biased. Like I feel like when you compare it to other sports, I don't know if it's just like the dynamic of what the sport is when it comes to fighting, that I think it just adds another layer of like the trust you have with the people like you spar and you roll with, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Dude, this has become like a whole different podcast now. I love this.
Yeah, this is now like I'm gonna clip this. We're talking sports today. Today in the comics and sports with Chill and Grace.
Love it.
But yeah, that was pretty much my week. And now, would you say, are you ready to kind of dive in real quick?
Yeah, let's do it. I think this week we're starting with
We're doing
Sandmann, right? We're kind of alternating. Yes.
Yeah, I'm actually I am gonna
do
my job and change the screen. You know, I've been kind of just super lax as of late, so I'm gonna put the Sandman poster up. I'm sorry, y'all, but with me being lax, I hope y'all do appreciate like the graphics that I'm putting up on Instagram. You know, I'm taking some time doing some Photoshop
I
stuff
was about
here
to
and there.
say.
You know.
They look amazing. Honestly, like I think our next step, and we'll talk about this on the sidelines. Like our next step is we're gonna infiltrate TikTok.
You froze. No.
See, you froze a while ago. Do you hear me?
I hear you. I hear you fine.
You know what? I think she'll fix. I trust it. It's okay. If you can hear me, that's the importance.
I'm gonna see if I can.
Oh my god, you know what is so funny? I freeze and on my end it says like a notification just popped that I exceeded my my like internet whatever.
Oh my goodness. All right, so An oldie, listen, an oldie but goodie picture is up. Is Grace on the line, ladies and gentlemen? From I think that was like episode 2 of of the comic cinematic universe. So I still have it here. So we may not see you, but we hear you just fine. Yeah. Oh, and this is you with dark hair, not blue hair. So it's a throwback. Flashback Friday. There it is. Mm-hmm. Yep. Sandman. Yep. Did you want to start or you want me to go ahead? Yeah, like say I was asked while watching this episode, they like someone asked me, do I like this show? Now, say I'm not giving it a no. This show for me is just like it has the potential to be good. It's just right now I'm waiting for it to get better. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not bad. It's just like I feel like it's building. You kind of see what I'm saying or no? Mm-hmm. Right. Like it's like on some borderline acquired taste, to where it's going to be better than what it is. It's just not a bad taste from the jump. So like I know it's good. Episode 1 set it off and it just the story it intrigued me. It made me want more and now it's like I'm sitting here still kind of waiting for more to come. Yeah. In terms of this episode, like storyline wise, I would say one of the things I kind of like most about it was just learning that initially I was thinking that it was his objects, whether if it's the helmet, jewel, or sand that would keep people from aging, but in actuality, we find out that Ethel got uh, I forgot if it was a medallion or whatever it's called, but something else that kept her from aging because she admitted to where she was maybe like she's been alive for like 118 years or something like that. So I thought that was pretty cool to learn. Amulet, that's right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The series. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree. And say, uh, now that the sun has this amulet, right? Initially, when he was introduced last season, no, not last last season. Sorry, guys. Last episode, um, this actor, I didn't happen to look up his name, but he's always played bigger roles. Like he was the main villain in Wonder Woman, and he was the wolf teacher in Harry Potter. You know, so I was like, I'm expecting more. Okay. Oh my goodness. But I'm just now kind of waiting for him to kind of take over. And this episode ended to where it's like, all right, he has the amulet, and now it's about to go down. You know, so like once I saw him in episode 2, I was actually that's what I'm saying in terms of I know it's gonna get better just because I like him as an actor. Sure. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, initially, like with his, he kind of went on a rant there, and he was more so kind of talking about how she kind of used the excuses of ex boyfriends to move from city to city when in actuality she was trying to just stay on the move so nobody really catches up. Nobody like demon or nightmare wise catches up with her or her son, especially if by that moment, like let's say her son is starting to learn and maybe even abuse the ruby or whatnot. She just wanted to kind of keep moving around just to stay safe, you know. So uh, what's wild is if that were the case, then I would say she got comfortable because if she kept moving, then who knows? I don't think Corinthian would have found her if that like makes sense. Cause I mean, I don't know if he finds anyone and everyone. He just happens to be there when something goes down. So maybe he's just one of those. He's like he knows where anyone's at all times. Mm-hmm. Right. The ruby. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as far as him trying to say that he didn't really hurt anybody, and she's like, no, you didn't, you actually killed people. uh it was that moment in their conversation, and then how later on after as he's leaving the facility, I'm just like, you're just killing more people, man, like kind of worry free, so you're kind of doing what your mom was actually talking about. But let's say in that, let's say, because I kind of want to build on that. Like, if he quote unquote doesn't have a conscious, or I won't even say can't go beyond that, just because now he is given the task, or not even a task. He is aware that the Sandman is coming for the ruby, and he's the only one alive to really know where the ruby is. So is it a matter of not having a conscience, or just not really looking to stay in the same place and wait for the Sandman to come? Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 You said his name is John, right? Yeah. I'm just looking forward just to see more in terms of like if there is gonna be let's say a standoff between him and Sandman, especially now that he has this amulet of protection. How's the Sandman gonna get around that, because that amulet just kind of just blew Corinthian up like it was nothing. So it's just something that, yes, we know, or at least I hope that it's gonna come down to the showdown, but I just don't know what the Sandman's gonna do to get around that. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. That elevator scene was low key, even though it was brief. Like that was kind of my favorite scene of that whole sequence. Like you don't see the events happen, but as soon as the elevator doors open, you're just like, ugh. Right, right. Yeah, yeah. But say even in that story, I kind of went in their story just talking about how now being that he exits the facility and Corinthians there waiting for him, it almost seemed like in terms of Corinthians' demeanor, now it's on some like I don't want to say he's he's coming off quote unquote as a servant, but he seems like he's already been affected by the amulet, one, and two, he's doing anything and everything to make sure that the Sandman doesn't get the other objects. So he, what better just to serve the guy who has the ruby. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. But being with everything that we just talked about just now, that was maybe just a quarter of everything that happened in this episode, because initially, last episode we had mentioned the idea of Constantine, right, which they pronounce here as Constantine, and we get the story of is Johanna, right? Johanna Constantine. Right. Mm-hmm.
Young girl gets sucked into what I'm assuming is like a portal to hell and gets
Yeah. Yeah. But just even in this dream, that's when it really it sealed the deal to where it's just like, oh, this is the quote unquote Constantine of this universe, like her, uh, just spitting out Latin spells and things like that, and that was something I remember in the Keanu Reeves film or whatnot. That's what Constantine does, and then later on in this episode, he's like, Sandman was talking to her. He's like, oh, it's like I've known your family for like hundreds of years, you know. So it's dope that they brought like another version of this character into this universe. Mm-hmm. That's what I would assume. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You wouldn't have guessed because it's not there's not even like a DC tag in the beginning, like no instance of like in the credits like, oh, this is part of DC, you know. Right. I saw that was by Warner Brothers, so Warner Brothers was just on some. We don't need to let like anything DC related. They can keep over there at HBO Max, but we're just gonna just slightly put out this, and if y'all catch it, y'all catch it. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're already introduced. We're like aside from the dream, we're introducing her straight into an exorcism, which is right up the Constantine, you know, right in that alley, you know. So say here we get the exorcism, and initially I think yeah, Sandman tries to meet up with her before it goes down. And she was just like, I don't really have time for you, fam. And he didn't really announce himself as far as letting her know who he is. But it wasn't until after the exorcism to where the Sandman knew exactly who the demon was. And he brought that to light in terms of like, oh, this is the Sandman. This is the Endless of Dreams or whatnot. So she was kind of taken back from that. And she was like, oh, that's who that woman outside was talking about. But say with that woman outside, um, actually no, I can't really speak on it because we're still learning here, and yeah, she may admit it that she was a couple hundred years old, but we don't know what she is. Initially, I thought she was human at first, but she obviously isn't or whatnot. But I don't know. I thought that to be interesting, and during the exorcism, right? Because initially the demon was expelled from a human host, and I think at that point, Sandman was trying to get information from him. Correct? Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, I just know he's looking for. I don't know what it's called, but it's like the helmet that he came to Earth with. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sorry. Sorry, they're paying me for this. I just got paid. Like that's how she ended it. She was like, "That is my fee right there." So, um, I wouldn't say that. Mm, she can't redirect it at all just because at the end of the day, uh, her girlfriend in that dream state admitted that all of her exes said that she is not a person to be in a relationship with. You know, she is a bad person, and she's not a bad person in terms of what she does against the dark world, but in terms of being a human being with other human beings, then she's not the quote unquote best. And as far as to go for as far and say she didn't care, I think she cared just because of that dream. You know, it brought back a whole bunch of feelings. Like at first glance, they see each other and they're ready to take it to the bedroom again. You know, so at the end of the day, like she still has feelings. It's just sad to see her friend die and there's nothing to be done. Like Sandman was like, sorry, it was the sand that was keeping her alive. There's nothing out there that can fix it. So I think it was just like coming to terms and letting him work his magic just to kind of make it painless. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think I think the story of Constantine, whether like whoever it may be, uh, I think the story of Constantine is always going to be a sad solo story. It's about someone who can't really get attached because being attached to someone can heighten the chances of a demon messing with that person, you know? So, like, them bringing this girlfriend into the mix on this show is like, yeah, I understand. What is we as a viewer, we understand why she left, and it's like you can't help feel bad for the girlfriend initially, even if you didn't know that she was dreaming, right? But at the end of the day, I think just any version of Constantine, he just doesn't get close to people to keep them safe. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Um, but just just to kind of go to just the dream just for a second. Oh, actually, no. Let's backtrack it here. We have a new Raven, okay? And as soon as I heard the voice, I know exactly who it was. Uh, just because if you are a nerd like Grace and I, and you know anything comic book related that's been on TV, you're gonna know Patton Oswalt's voice just like that, you know. So once that Raven showed up, because yeah, it was Constantine that was like, oh, you're that guy because that guy always has a Raven, and there's your Raven, and introducing the Raven, Matthew. That's what he goes by. But it was just kind of funny to hear that voice. I was like, oh, Patton Oswalt's in this show. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. But also, like, you can see the kind of, it's not necessarily hate, but like Sandman has his feeling towards Jessime that's no longer in the picture. So like he's kind of giving Matthew the cold shoulder, like, you beat it, fam. Like it's like I told Lucian I don't need a bird, I don't need a raven, so go back to wherever you came from. And he was just like, yeah, she said you would say that, so I'm kind of sticking around, you know. So he does bring that, and so I think that just from any role that I see him in, he's always bringing that comedic element to it. So yes, the role that he has now, it may be a little dark, but it came with humor as well. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, like say just in comparison to like I don't well yeah let's say like a husband and wife eventually you know the mannerisms of your spouse, you know. And here, though they're not spouses, like she's more so an assistant to him. They have their relationship is we don't know how old it is, but we know it's to the point to where she knows everything he'll say, probably even before he'll say it, you know. So that's why she gave that to Matthew. Is like, okay, if he says this, disregard and continue on with your mission because that's why you're here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just speaking of challenging him, I think she has every right to, being that she is the last like sole survivor in the dream, like dream world, dream realm or whatnot. It's like, yo, I waited 100 years and I was the last one, so if I talk back, I'm talking back. Don't worry about nothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm the most loyal. Take that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah, privileged, or I was thinking just more so demanding. You know. Yeah, I forgot her name. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, just like you kind of saying that, his conversations with Constantine, right? It's like you get like, well, I got the gist of like he doesn't really necessarily communicate like a human being, and he shouldn't because he is a quote unquote god of the dream world, you know. But like you get that from how he speaks, you know. It's like, yeah, it may be uh, entitled or privileged or anything like that, but at the end of the day, he can't empathize with humans just like humans do with other humans, you know. So like there was a moment to where she was talking to him and I think they brought up love or whatnot, and he was just like on some, oh, love, like, yeah, sure, whatever, you know. It's just something that I don't want to say he said it was like kind of beneath him, but I would say it's more so him being on another level to where something like love and the love of humans, it's not really a thought to think about. Right. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. He's Matthew's just gonna be one of those characters to where he's just that annoying sidekick. You know, it's not always gonna be. They're not always gonna be on the same page. He's like it may eventually get to the point to where they warm up to each other, but I feel like Matthew, just as far as his personality, is always going to have something to say that he isn't gonna like, because I think it came to the point to where he's like, either I could go back to the dream realm, or I can just stay and we never have to have this conversation again. And him saying that, I was like, yeah, because it would be more so than a back and forth between. It's like telephone. It's like him going back to the dream realm, Lucian telling him to go back to the real world, and then it's like a cycle, you know. So he's like he's smart, and at the same time, and that's when the Sandman was like, you know what, I think that makes the most sense. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So where this episode ends between both stories, because I think it was just the two stories of the Sandman, and then you have Ethel and the Sun. Uh, do you think this episode is, like, let's say, the only episode this season to where we'll get Constantine? Because I don't know if she, just the way they kind of left. I think he just left to go to hell to find his other things, and then she may just go off to go back to being, demonologist, and I don't know. It's like it's kind of left to where I don't know if we're gonna see her in this season, for the rest of this season. I can imagine maybe next season, to where if Sandman needed to call in a favor and he knows a human that can deal in demonic affairs or whatnot. But I don't know. What do you think? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Okay. I think that's everything I have. Did you have anything else on this episode? Mm-hmm. We're only 3 episodes in, you know what I'm saying? So I don't think every episode he's gonna find a new object. You know, I think it may just get to the point to where if he finds, let's say if Ruby's the Ruby's the last thing he finds, let's say that may come later in the season. You know, because yeah. Uh, the only person, like I said, to know where it is John. And now that John has the amulet, I don't see the Sandman getting it anytime soon. Getting the ruby anytime soon. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, him saying that, it's like, I totally forgot that he brought that up with his mom. Honestly, I thought he was just saying that just so his mom couldn't get her hands on the ruby. He was just like, oh, I altered it. It only listens to me, So who's to say if that were true or a lie? I just think that was just something initially, because at that point he was a little bit more defensive to his mom, and she hadn't opened up to him to let him know the whole story until like after that conversation. So I don't know. I think he was just saying that, but either way, no matter what, he's the person to wield the ruby once he gets it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we're switching gears. We're heading from Sandman straight into She-Hulk episode 3. And just like kind of how you mentioned earlier as far as Sandman, how the show is picking up momentum, and this with She-Hulk, I would say it's the same. It's just the difference for me. She-Hulk had a better start, and that's because we're more familiar with everything, So episode 3 here is just like an explosion of a whole bunch of like fanboy and for fangirl stuff, that we were hoping to see in the universe, especially with Emil Blonsky. Like, it gave us pretty much everything, but also at the same time, we kind of mentioned it episode 1 as far as how the idea of She-Hulk and her transformation kind of shat on the story of Hulk, to where here it's almost kind of like the same here with Abomination. I'm not gonna lie. So say no, because in the previous conversation you and I had, we talk about how she's just able to can control her emotions and transform however whenever she wants. So say, with that being said, that was a story that Bruce has yet to really find out. Like, he was never able to transform back into human form without like a lullaby or being knocked out or something like that. And then him becoming Smart Hulk was just like a happy medium of uh just what he thought he could figure out, and so he doesn't really know how to stay in human form without the quote unquote inhibitor, which is now broken. Now fast forward here to this episode, Emil Blonsky proved that he can do the same. He could transform to Abomination, keep him in control, and transform back worry free. So that's what I mean by kind of shitting on the story of the Hulk. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Um, where do you want to start? Do you want to start? Actually, take it away for us, please. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, like say with that whole storyline, you would have to get a quote unquote explanation, especially the parole board would need an explanation as to why this man should go free. You know, especially if he escaped, and he kind of mentioned that he was kind of taken against his will. And with that being said, Wong confirms it. He's like, "Oh yeah, I definitely took him just so I can sharpen my skills to being the Sorcerer Supreme." So, with that, that kind of proves that at the time in Shang-Chi, he wasn't Sorcerer Supreme. And I think as far as him entering the quote unquote Kumite, which I like that they brought that back because for all those who know the story Bloodsport, y'all know exactly what a Kumite is. But him saying that he brought Abomination to the Kumite just so he can sharpen his skills and all that, just so he can become Sorcerer Supreme. It was just like, okay, so he wasn't then, now he is. So him defeating Abomination was it could have been that main thing to just be like, all right, defeat someone who's 10 stories tall and you'll become Sorcerer Supreme, you know. So and then after that we get him in Spider-Man No Way Home, and he was already Sorcerer Supreme based off of that technicality. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Let's say uh just to kind of appease the people of the sacred timeline. Let's say Shang-Chi did happen after the blip. And let's say during the blip he was quote unquote standing in as Sorcerer Supreme, and then post blip all he had to do was defeat Abomination just to receive the title. Because why would they just give Strange the title? I don't even remember Strange having to go through trials like that. It was just, oh, I'm like the ancient one's gone, so I guess I'm assuming the title, you know. So I think Wong Wong took the necessary steps, and now he is where he is. You know, so I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, I think and because of that, I was just gonna say just because of that, I like Doctor Strange even less now because he wasn't put through any like trials to become Sorcerer Supreme. Yeah. Yep. Well, yeah, like initially, I think when they were looking for Wong at the very beginning of this episode and finding him on his Facebook page, when they were talking about it, I was like, Wong. In my mind, I was just like, Wong helped a convicted felon escape prison, you know. So right there, that makes him a quote unquote felon. And let's say in real life law, we don't know how MCU law is, but let's say when it comes down to it, that's the way it goes. If you try to help someone escape, then you're going to jail if you're caught, no matter what. So by the end of this episode, after Wong made his testimony, I was like, yeah, Wong, I don't know if you realize or not, but you committed a crime, buddy. So once the people, the committee, they told him, is like, yeah, being that you did that, you just admitted to this, and we're gonna have to lock you up now. You know, so I thought he was just because initially he didn't show, and I thought he was avoiding the prison to avoid jail time, but he showed up and then he exited just super quickly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought the Accords were just more so almost kind of just like a registry. Just anybody with powers should just make it known that they have powers. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, like all the different places. Yeah, 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 all that. Well, then let me ask you another question. Then, do you believe everyone, uh, or even not even everyone, just the place Comitage, uh, that place should be just registered in total, no matter how many students? Mm-hmm. Mm. But then with that being said, I'm sorry to cut you off, but with that being said, not every master of the mystic arts, they're not out here practicing vigilantism. I feel like, say we learned from the first Doctor Strange that the guy who healed himself, who eventually started playing basketball and all whatnot, it was more so just to heal himself. It wasn't to be out there and fight crime. So, like, as far as Wong is concerned, Wong, yes, maybe should be registered just because he is the Sorcerer Supreme and he works closely alongside Doctor Strange. But as far as everybody else is there, I think, for different reasons. Yeah. Yeah. Um. Yeah, and that's kind of, yeah. That's, in order for her to practice law, she would legally have to be like binded to to sign it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Say, as far as that is concerned, I can see this episode being a little bit more like showing news clips or whatnot on the She-Hulk, because everybody is learning of it, and of course, being that She-Hulk is brand new at the game, um, coming up with like silly rumors and things like that. I think that was whoever wrote this episode was kind of writing on some borderline like mockery of kind of the things that we do today. Just like the silly, oh, like it's the silliness. I don't want to bring it up right now. I was gonna bring up, never mind. But either way, when it comes down to it, like, just the rumors of her and Abomination and things like that. I think that was kind of just more so this episode specific. I don't remember seeing too much in terms of news and stuff like that in episodes 1 and 2. But I don't think that's going to be the driving factor for the remaining of the series. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, no. I take what I said back. I take what I said back. You're right. Just simply for the fact of what she is. Okay. No, she's not a hero. She's a lawyer, and a lot of the lawyer stuff that we know of, that we've seen, especially cases in courtrooms, we get a lot of information from the news. You know. So you know what? I'm sorry. I take it back. You're right. Mm-hmm. A scandal. Mm. Oh, I thought you were trying to think of like an yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it just in terms of like this Asgardian, right? Like this episode, I think it maybe opens with Jin breaking the fourth wall and talking about, oh, this isn't going to be a show of cameos, even though we got this person, that person, and this person. But we already knew. I think we got that from either Feige or the writers before the show even came out, that this is actually in fact going to be a show of cameos. And no, we may not get all the heavy hitters, but I can see um, us getting just random characters that have some type of either relationship with characters that we know, like let's say this as Guardian, you know, because from here, I wouldn't have thought Asgardians had shapeshifters like that, you know. But if we're gonna have like you said it earlier, it's like a B story or something like that, then why not give us the other enhanced individuals that um, we either know about or I guess can relate to. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thor. Mm-hmm. Right. And the fact that she chose Megan the Stallion. I thought it was funny that even though I see Megan the Stallion, like let's say in my Spotify, I don't read it as Megan the Stallion, but like initially when they were talking about it, they were like, but it's Megan the Stallion, you know, instead of like Megan the Stallion, you know. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty funny that they emphasized the, you know, in her name. Right. Right. Sure. Mm-hmm. I've this episode, no, or this show in general, I'm learning that there's one in every episode, so I'm watching until Disney Plus just checks to see if I'm still watching. I did. I watched it all. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like she's like dial it back, dial it back. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the boss kind of walked in and saw the dance and he was like, "Oh my goodness!" And like, I can imagine just seeing him. It's like just saying it. Him being a white dude, he doesn't understand what's going on in the office, especially if it's like Meg the Stallion or Megan the Stallion, and then the She Hulk who loves her like anybody else, any other fan. Of course, like they're gonna jam out and his with Megan the Stallion, there's gonna be twerking involved. So his face, he was just like. I think I'm gonna head that way, you know. Mhm. Right. Mhm. Mhm. But no, that came. I feel like that case. Did that case come before the verdict on Blonsky? Okay. Oh, I was like, I missed that light bulb. Mhm. 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 Well, I would say when it comes down to just to Blonsky, I wanna kind of talk about him just for a second. Uh, Him transforming into Abomination in front of everybody, everybody freaked out because the only image they have of him is what he did to Harlem years ago. But say with his transformation, I just looking to where he is. I thought his cell is a cell to where even as Abomination, he can't get out, and they were just I don't know fearful that he could. So just that scene in general, I think the committee. I don't know. They were. I don't want to say over exaggerating, but even though he was trying to prove a point that he's harmless, but at the same time, this is coming back to the security of this DODC facility, and I would think that the cell that he was in could contain abomination, just like let's say on the first Avengers, how that one cell that Loki was on the inside for a second that tricked Thor to go in was meant to hold Hulk, you know. So there was no reason for them to be afraid. They don't really hold like that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Karening. I like that. Karening. Uh-huh. But yeah, so he is free, so that is an official win for Jin, and also I would say her getting Megan the Stallion. I'm gonna keep saying that, repeating it, but Megan the Stallion as a client, like that's another win. So she technically, I feel like she won twice. So she may be on a winning streak, but I think later in the season, who knows? As far as her being a lawyer, the wins may come to a halt, you know. And who's to say that? Yeah, she's right now the face of superhero law, but if she's up against somebody in court, hopefully let's say Matt Murdock, and we already know how he gets down in the courtroom, maybe he's that one person who can shut her down and bring her down, bring her back to reality, like humble her for a bit. Mm-hmm. Let's. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Let's say it's the power broker. Let's throw out a prediction. Okay. Let's say the power broker's out here trying to get some She-Hulk juice and send some random thugs to try to get it out of her, and come to find out this quote unquote Asgardian tech, which I wouldn't have believed to be Asgardian tech. It looks super cheap, but either way, we see that it failed to pierce any skin just to draw any blood or whatnot. So let's well, I'm just gonna predict that the power broker may be in the shadows trying to broker some blood for anybody else who wants to be a Hulk. Mm. We haven't, and just to kind of veer off of She-Hulk just for a moment, I think like I didn't actually write the list down, which I should have. But they Marvel announced as far as who the prominent people are going to be in Phase 4, right? Or was it Phase 5? Because I remember seeing Captain America, Kate Bishop, Daredevil, and maybe like two or three other people. You know, so being that Captain I have Instagram right here. Let me just pull it up and see. Yeah. Um. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Let's see. This is kind of important. So, Marvel lists its prominent characters. Oh, it's for Phase 5. So, right now, Phase 4 is coming to a close after Wakanda Forever. But so say coming up, it's gonna be Kate Bishop, Kamala Khan, Sam Wilson, Riri Williams, which we'll get in Black Panther, Maya Lopez as Echo, and Matt Murdock. So, um, with those six characters being kind of put out there for Phase 5, especially Captain America, and he has already had some dealings with the Power Broker. I feel like we're gonna get more soon, and being that I think this law firm that She-Hulk works for, I would assume that it's a prominent law firm. Like it looks huge, it looks nice, it looks like it's one of those to where if you need a lawyer, you want to holler at them because they're the most expensive and they're the best, you know. But at the same time, uh, who's to say, even with that power, I think it could bleed into a story with dealing with the power broker, being that the last time we got that, or the last time, yeah, we talked about her was, when did Falcon and the Winter Soldier come out? Was that like March or April? It's been a year. Yeah, it's been a year. Yeah, and we haven't heard anything since. So it should be coming soon as far as more information on the dealings with this broker, and I can see She-Hulk kind of diving into that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we gotta take them off. Mm-hmm. 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 Get out of here. Get out of here. Because at the end of the day, I'm thinking you're gonna give us somebody new, and you're giving me names that we already know of. We know Riri. We know Ironheart is already here. Wakanda Forever is already solidifying that Ironheart is gonna be in Secret Wars. Okay, so I was hoping like Secret Wars, mutants. We're gonna get mutants, but no, you didn't give that to us. Uh huh. I got some more stuff. I got some stuff from my source. Hold on. This person that we've already met. Oh man, nah, don't cut us off, please. Please, if you got us some tea, please give us the tea. No matter how salty chill is, okay? You just gotta take the salt, you know what I'm saying, and just give us. Keep giving. When was the last time shooting zombies? Damn. Yeah, we were shooting zombies, y'all. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's say here I have a source here, okay? My source told me, actually, as far as the source, it's the other person in our zombie club said there's a new zombie game there. You know what I'm saying? So mhm. Mhm. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna set it up soon. As soon as it's out, we'll be back. We'll be back to shooting those zombies. Sorry, y'all. I know we're talking about She-Hulk, but we just I had a gripe real quick with her sources, so I had to let her know about my source real quick. Any listen, it's not even like after every time we see each other we hug it up, so it's sure once it comes down to it, yes, it'll be nice again, you know what I'm saying, and then after that it'll be back to regular old me until next time, so no. uh no, Meg was in it, like the real Meg showed up to the courtroom, and she's like, "There's only one real Meg," and she did her signature ah. And I wish copyright. I can't put it on stream. Sorry, man. I'm not trying to get any strikes on our account. Yep, you can sing it. Hmm. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, exactly. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, like kind of like how we mentioned in terms of like the media here in this show. This show, I think, right now is just gonna be the quote unquote closest thing to real life as we're gonna get, and by that I mean in terms of the internet and news in general, because when it comes down to just news today, it's like aside from the actual things that are happening in the world that all the bad stuff that's happening in the world, but like all the celebrity stuff. Because right now, let's say with She-Hulk, she is now quote unquote celebrity. So when it comes down to quote unquote celebrity news, it's gonna be just like how it is today. There's gonna be a whole bunch of haters, and there's gonna be a whole bunch of people who don't like the idea of a woman superhero. But that's just the age that we live in, to where people are gonna have to just take that hate with a grain of salt and keep it moving. And that's what she did. She ended up just getting on the news to kind of just put it out there, as far as getting ahead of it, kind of like her friend told her to do it. But even when she did that, the news anchor brought up some other bullshit, like on some her workout and like meal regimen or something like that, you know. So that's just like, even though it's kind of like a mockery, it's still almost kind of similar to how sometimes how silly the news can be today. Mm-hmm. Is she? Let me ask you a question. Is she getting more hate than Captain Marvel? Right. Yeah, like I like say I don't. My thing is, I don't understand where the hate is coming from, specifically for the fact that these, like every single character that we're talking about, they all come from a comic book, and not every comic book character was male. You know what I'm saying? Y'all knew there was a She-Hulk comic, you know, and y'all knew that Captain Marvel is was a woman, you know. So say just to now you see some on screen adaptations of this, and now it's time to throw shade. You know, why not just throw shade or why not just not throw shade, being that they are in the Marvel storyline no matter what. Okay, it was coming, and there are more female led characters out there that we're gonna get in the future. So as far as the times, it's 2022. It's almost 2023. We're only a few months away. Okay, why can't we just move on? And then if we're gonna be we can criticize things just like Captain Marvel. It's like I didn't really like Captain Marvel, not because it was uh, because she was a woman and it was a woman led movie with Samuel L. Jackson. It was the fact that for me, like her story of being don't show emotion or whatnot, and her not being emotional the whole time, like, yeah, you're human but you're not acting like one. It's weird, you know, as opposed to now here in She-Hulk we have a character who doesn't even want to be a superhero, and now people are hating on her because she is a superhero. Mm, like Scarlet. Mm-hmm. Right. We got to progress. And I think Marvel, well, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or more so Marvel Studios, they're doing a great job in terms of progression, because I think I remember you, yeah, I remember you talking about how initially like Shang-Chi was more on the racist side as far as the comic books, to where here it was in the movie it was art, you know. So they're doing everything they possibly can to a not offend anybody, and b make sure everyone is represented, you know. So mm-hmm. Right. I'm just curious now, like with all this hate, when the Marvels come out, where it's like three lead Marvels, like what's the internet gonna do? Is it gonna break from all the hate? You know, it's just it's come on, y'all. Like, can we just move on? Can we? Right. Mm-hmm. Um. No. That is everything that I got. Again, another win in this category. She Hulk is it's effectively for me doing way better than what I got from Miss Marvel, because again, this is a new character for me. I don't really know too much about She Hulk, but this show is actually just really good, and I think honestly, maybe you would know why. It's because for me they're tying so many things together and giving me all the connections that I've ever wanted, you know. So I think that's why I'm liking this show a lot right now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Right. Like especially like let's say with this episode specifically, like we're talking about Abomination, and the last time we talked about Abomination pre Shang-Chi was in 2008 when The Incredible Hulk came out, you know. So they're bringing it way back to the storyline of the Hulk from 14 years ago, you know. So it's like those little Easter eggs, even though it's not an Easter egg being that this is a part of the actual story of She-Hulk, you know, it's little connections like that that makes me appreciate it even more. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I'm here. Yep. Mm-hmm. I think it's just you, just Grace. She wanted to block it out from her memory, folks. But I think the last point the last point I want to make before we get out of here is with Blonsky, and this is more so from episode 2 and him telling us the story of him, quote unquote, becoming a Captain America. I just like the idea of this is coming back to the story of the super soldier serum going wrong, you know, and bringing out the bad. It wasn't necessarily the Hulk that made him bad. It was the serum that Ross gave to him in that story that eventually maybe amplified uh, the evil that we've seen multiple times from Goblin to USA Agent and all the other people that have taken the serum, you know? So I just like that he was just more so kind of saying, hey, I thought I was going to be the next Captain America, and then your government made me take the serum. It's like, you know what? Thinking about it, the serum does make people go bad sometimes. And that was the story of, I forgot the name of those black soldiers from the comic that we talked about during Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But we've seen the serum do damage, and I think if anything, even though she didn't bring it up in her case, that could have been like an effective point as far as what the government has done in terms of putting the super soldier serum and the results being bad. Steve Rogers just happened to be the one gem to not turn bad, you know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was a good movie, y'all. It was a good movie. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. Okay, well, we're gonna wrap up here. This was episodes 3 of Sandman and She-Hulk. Tune in next week. We're gonna be talking about both episodes. And Grace, if you want, we can talk about, I don't know. I was like, because we kind of had a conversation before about Sandman and maybe catching up on Sandman. Just let me know if you want to do multiple episodes for Sandman, or if you just want to keep it one for one. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, she did it! She did it! Oh wow, we're gonna end it on that, and that's what I was asking for last week, and she did that great. Great job, Grace. I appreciate that. All right, so yeah. All right, later, guys.